President drawing huge crowds to his rallies this week, but his support is dropping even in some states that voted for him in November. Back now with my panel, Selena Zito, John Fredericks, and Matt Lewis. John, you first. You say that President Trump isn't losing support, but here's a new Gallup poll that shows President Trump is underwater in 31 states nationwide, including 11 states that voted for him in November. States like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, who were key to his victory. Even Indiana and Texas, as well as swing states like Ohio, Iowa, and North Carolina. The Gallup poll already found that President Trump has a record low 39% approval rating across the country. So what's your reaction to these numbers?
Well, Don, two things. Number one, the media, the legacy media has been bashing on Donald Trump nonstop 24/7 for 6 months. So obviously there's going to be some decline there. The other thing is these are the same polls that showed Hillary Clinton winning, all these states that said that Trump couldn't win. So you got to take these polls with a grain of salt. They backfired on election day. They backfired during the election, and they're going to backfire again. If Donald Trump can get this economy going, get to 3% growth, get tax reform in, get our jobs going, and stay out of these wars and get our troops home, he's going to get reelected again, regardless right now of what the public opinion surveys have said, because they've been discredited in this past election from basically April through November, Don.
And Matt, I wish I had bet with you in the commercial break when I said, I know how John Fredericks is going to answer this question. Was that right?
You nailed that one.
Yeah, go on. What do you think?
Look, I do agree with something he said there. I think, look, if Donald Trump still could win re-election, he could turn things around. The economy is doing pretty good. And there are a lot of people around America who love Donald Trump. And 90% of my family would vote for Donald Trump for re-election today. And so I do think it's important that we keep in mind.
You think these numbers are concerning, though, too, especially if you are looking at numbers? And
I think that I think it's always safe to assume that you're in trouble,
right.
And not to. So if I'm advising Donald Trump, I say take this really seriously. I would also say I think we are in an era now where it would be very hard for anybody, even if they weren't sending out crazy tweets, to really be popular. I think if Hillary Clinton were president, she would be facing some similar struggles.
Mm-hmm. Selena, you were at President Trump's rally in Ohio last night. You spoke to his supporters, and you write in the New York Post, 6 months after Donald J. Trump was inaugurated as the 45th president of the United States, he received a hero's welcome in this town. But despite that big rally, Gallup says he has a 47% approval rating in Ohio, 48% disapprove. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, I mean, I take the polls with a grain of salt in that I don't doubt their validity. I'm sure that they're right, and Matt is right with the constant news all the time and sort of the constant chaos all the time. That's going to impact people. I think you see a lot of people moving over to don't know how they feel, but also polls are sort of geographical, right? You have to literally get into those counties that are important, whether this is fair or not, but are important to how you win elections, not only in midterms, but also in presidential. At the rally yesterday, what I found was interesting. Of course, the people that were attending that voted for him, it's only 6 months in. They have a different worldview. They view him in a different way, and they're happy. You know, it was like going to a tailgate party without the beer. I mean, there were people all over the streets. They were walking around. There was music. I'm sure there's beer somewhere. Nobody offered me any beer, but what I found about 6 or 7 people who did not vote in the last election, but have found him, and I always find this interesting, found him more compelling, more interesting, and they wanted to go see because they have started to like him, and I find that amazing. I've found that in several counties across the country where I've gone and interviewed people who didn't vote in the last election and actually like him more. Now, I don't know if it's because he takes on the status quo. I don't know because he's different, but he does tend to make people give him a second look that were undecided before the last election.
Well, Matt, some have suggested that the president's tweets, right, that his tweets today, and you talked about that, but this one today about transgender troops in the military was a political decision. Do you think this was a play to the religious right, which was a key part of his base?
I definitely think so, and I think that some of it might have to do with the last segment we had, where you have conservative media, conservative politicians who are expressing concern about the attacks on Jeff Sessions. They love Jeff Sessions. He's seen as a movement conservative. He's seen as a hardcore conservative. And it does seem, so these tweets about the transgender military issue, to me, seemed apropos of nothing. And the only thing that makes sense is that he put it out there to sort of pacify the exact same people who are all of a sudden not happy with him for the first time.
Yeah, and listen, and you mentioned conservatives. I have to say that some conservatives are speaking out against this whole transgender thing. Senator John McCain's statement today saying, we should all be guided by the principle that any American who wants to serve our country and is able to meet the standards should have the opportunity to do so and should be treated as the patriots they are. And a lot of conservatives are hitting back. What does this GOP blowback tell you, John Fredericks?
Well, let me, Don, if I may, first respond to what Selena said earlier. The Trump
You have
base
30 seconds to do it.
I'll do it. They're concerned about three things, three W's: war, wall, work. You get those three things, he gets reelected, gets us out of these wars.
And then John McCain and transgender and conservatives?
Transgender is this. Donald Trump is a pro-gay rights, pro-gay marriage Republican. First one ever to do that. Took the issue off the table. He made
What about transgender people?
He made a cold, calculating business decision that had nothing to do with the social impact or politics, because his generals told him this is not working for us. I've had people that call on my show that are on active duty who said this was a pending disaster for them serving in the military in the listening area that I have. So he made a cold business decision based on what his generals were telling him. It had nothing to do with the social issues or the religious rights.
You didn't really answer
else.
my question,
This
because
is
you realize transgender
gay
people
rights
aren't
Republican.
But
Look,
transgender people aren't necessarily gay. That's the point. Do you understand that?
yes, I do understand that, but he is pro LGBT. No question about it. First one ever. He took that off the table. He made a calculated business decision, nothing to do with the social
By
aspects
doing this,
of it.
it does not show that he is pro-LGBT, at least the T part, because many people see it as discriminating against transgender people. Thank you all. I appreciate it.